Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Well, I don't know. Lots of information here at the last second before we open the mic. So my mind is still processing all that. You know, my old mind is taking a while to process.
We always chat ahead of
now.
time, and then I throw all this stuff at you, and you're
I know.
like, what?
It's like, wait a minute. Wait,
What?
we need to start talking earlier.
I know it.
So anyway, I'm sitting here again thinking, okay, is there any buttons I haven't pushed, or are we
I'm sure
ready
we'll
to
find
go?
out soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Don't you worry, Kelly. Someone will call us and say we're off the air.
Yeah, if the phone starts running over, I'll know that something is amiss.
Yeah.
So anyway, good morning, and coming up at 8:40, we'll have Carl Kleinkoff, who's running for re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees. At 9 o'clock, we'll have the State of the City, and we're not sure who's going to be, because I was talking to Greg Lanting here, saw him out at the Happy Landing restaurant
Happy Landing.
a few
I love
days
that
ago,
name.
and he said he wasn't sure he's going to be. He might be out of town, so I don't know who the replacement. Or it might be Greg. It just might be.
I don't know. It's like Cracker
is,
Jacks. We never know.
That's right. We just open the top and see who pops out.
So anyway.
But
you can call anytime. They're still your city council people, whoever they are. If you have questions, call.
That's right. 7360300 is always the number to call, and it's hump day. You know,
it's just not hump day to me because we've lost our little bump.
I know. The system just ate it, and I haven't gone in to get
gremlins
it back
came in, hit the button, erased it because I liked it. Just face it, Kelly.
That's not the reason.
Somehow you hit the button.
That's not the reason. But
whatever.
Anyway.
I'm just saying.
Oh, man, we got some stuff to talk about this morning. We got the president sending 3,000 American troops into Ebola territory, which has me a little bit nervous. We've got this, what is the name of this hurricane? Odile? The one that's going to be bringing parts of the southwest of the U.S. lots and lots and lots and lots of rain, probably historic flooding in Arizona and New Mexico.
They've already had historic flooding in Arizona.
But apparently there's going to be more.
Nevada. Oh, good. So
there
you go.
Hey, they had a drought going on.
Yeah.
Now they're getting some rain.
They just can't be happy.
I know.
Why aren't they happy?
What do they want, for crying out loud?
Their highways have been washed away. Why aren't you happy, people? People are drowning in their cars. How come you're not happy?
You prayed for rain. Now you're getting it. Now what? You're not happy.
Ungrateful people down there.
They just want a quarter of an inch a day for the next, couple of months.
We get 3 inches in a day. We're not happy. All you say is rain, snow, precipitation is good, and then we're not happy.
It just goes to show you that we humans just cannot be happy.
Malcontents.
No matter what.
We're just malcontents.
I know. Anyway.
I don't know how to pronounce the hurricane's name.
Odile, maybe. I don't know. Why? Where do they come up with these names?
I don't know. They've run out of the others.
I remember back in the good old days when they all were named after women and everything was great, and now they got to name them after men, too.
They had that research where when they're named after women, more people are killed because they don't take it as seriously. So Odile must be like, is that a man or a woman? I don't know. But when it's Hurricane Bob, which I do remember Hurricane Bob, then they take it more seriously. Isn't that not amazing?
That's interesting.
Gender bias in the name of a hurricane.
Oh my God. You just can't get away from it, can you?
But Odile, is that a man or a woman?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it before.
So we all should be afraid.
It's spelled like Odile, but I'm sure it's not that simple. It's got to be something more complicated than that.
I don't know.
It's like Bob. I mean, somebody will complicate that. Well, it's not Bob, it's Bobby. Or something like that. But at any rate. So looks like we might see some pretty bad flooding in the southwest U.S. Actually, we have already. But Ken Clark, the Western weather expert, says there is a potential for devastating, catastrophic, and historic flooding in this scenario. And it was mainly around Arizona and New Mexico, where a general 3 to 6 inches will fall, but local amounts of 10 inches or more are possible on the slopes of the mountains. Rainfall of 1 to 2 inches per hour can occur.
And so what do you do in that situation? I mean, there's no way you can stay in your home because you're going to be, I mean, if you saw the footage from last week, what do you do? Just empty out as much as you can and just go to another state? Like, really, what do you...
I know. I can't even imagine.
Where do you go? You don't know what's going to happen.
I have so much empathy for these people because I try to put myself in their place thinking, now, what would I do?
Well, I know, and look at what happened locally.
Yeah, exactly.
Sewage in your house for 4 feet? Gosh.
Oh, my gosh. I can't even imagine. So anyway,
and you're denied
maybe somebody knows how to pronounce that name. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. It is Bob, not Bobby. Have a nice day.
Bob.
Okay, I was
trying to make you French.
I was trying to make a point.
Trying to make something.
Somebody somewhere. It's like Gordon. There's that commercial on TV for Geico, I think it is, and it's a kid dressed in goth, and it's not Gordon, it's Gordon. So I was trying to. Maybe I should have used that name for a point.
Gordon.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Bob. Bobo. What did you call?
Bobé.
Okay.
I guess we got, some issues going on with Magic Valley's dispatch center, the 911 dispatch, CERCOM.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some employee unrest or something going on. And
they've lost a lot of people.
Yeah, they have. They've lost quite a few, and they haven't really been able to put a finger on it yet as to what the problem is, because when people call in to complain about it, they don't leave their names. They just call in and, I guess, make these accusations and then hang up, and that's it. But they don't, they can't substantiate the rumors.
But half of the CERCOM dispatchers have left in recent months, and the board is trying to figure out why. I have a clue. Do you have an exit interview? Do you know when you leave? A lot of times they can take you and go, we'd like to know why you're leaving. And a lot of times that's when you sit there and unload. I'll tell you why. And here's another thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes an exit interview works well.
Maybe they should try. Maybe they've tried that. I don't know.
I mean, they seem just so perplexed.
Yeah, we ought to get Charlie Howell in here. And,
Charlie, call in.
About that. Yeah, maybe he can.
We'll book you on the show.
Shed some light on this. But, in a time where.
That's disturbing, though.
I know that it's kind of a stressful job, and I know that. I saw they had published in the Times News here a few days ago about what they made, which actually, wasn't all that bad.
What did they make?
Between $10 and $15 an hour, I think.
Well, it's $20,000 to $30,000.
Around here, it's not bad. It's a decent part-time job. I know they're probably working full-time hours at it, but it's better than no job at all, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But they had their They came up with a dress code. You can't wear shorts, and you can't use your smartphone or your personal communication device while you're on duty.
I don't think that's too extreme.
When you're handling emergency calls, I don't see that as a very outlandish request.
I can just understand it. You can check your phone on breaks, like if you have a family member or, obviously they're in a different position. But to be sitting there texting, I don't know.
CERCOM has been around since before smartphones and texting.
Yeah.
And people survived it then. It's almost like we're getting to the point where our little smartphone or personal device is becoming so important to us that we find it incomprehensible that we should actually turn it off at certain times.
Right.
And I think that is a bad place for us to be, because they are a tool.
Yeah.
And I realize that they are probably more important for some than they are for others. But humanity survived for centuries without these little irritating devices. And if you turn it off, you're probably not, even for an 8-hour shift, you're probably not going to die. And there's probably nobody else who will either.
And you can always check at breaks, like your family could call, you could call, is everything fine? But I don't really think there's a problem with the dress code. I think an employer has a right, no matter.
I agree.
We work in a studio, but I still feel like I should dress appropriately. If I came in and
especially
things
now
were
that we're on video.
Hanging out, but in any workplace, if things are inappropriate, it can create problems, and you sort of want your business to have some kind of sense of professionalism. I think an employer actually has absolutely has the right to tell you, we have a dress code. And who knows how short shorts are? I don't know. Maybe guys are wearing long shorts. I don't know. But I don't think those are totally unreasonable. But
it really doesn't make any difference, because if your employer wants you to wear a pink hat with a bow on top.
And some do if you work at an ice cream
shop.
Right,
that's right. And
or a chicken suit with a sign.
Yeah, that's their right. It's the employee or it's the entity who owns it. It is not the employee, unless it is an employee-owned company or something like that, which might be a little different. But even then, you have guidelines, you have a board of directors. I don't know. It just
but these
seems
might
to
not
me,
even be. This might not even
might
be
not
the
even
issues.
be it. There could be other issues.
But somehow I think HR should, when these people leave, should try to take them confidentially and say, give them an exit interview, and then try to work on the things.
Because at that point, they've already quit. What are they going to do? Fire them if they don't like what they hear?
No, and
they
maybe
would be
they
doing
could
them
fix
a favor if they would. Yeah.
It would be nice if the employees said something now so they could fix the things. I mean, the attitude of, oh, you're complaining, leave. It's like, no, I'm complaining maybe to make this place better.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the attitude it should be.
736-0300, top story. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. The thing that surprises me the most is when I was in college at a much older age, I would go in for interviews in front of doctors and things to get into a program. And I always wore a dress and fixed my hair and looked nice. And I could not believe the women that would go in there in short shorts or sweats, or they were just grungy. And
same with the males.
Yeah, and job interviews, the way they go in to interview, the way they're dressed. I guess I'm just old school, and I think it's inappropriate.
I agree with you, and we are becoming fossils. Although many employers still require that. But I think the younger mindset is thinking, you can't tell me what to wear, but yet you're supposed to hire me anyway. Well,
Kelly,
who's going to hire somebody with an attitude like that?
Kelly, I don't like the fact that you just called me a fossil.
I know. You should highly object to that comment.
Well, let me say this. I'm right in the boat with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make it better?
No, but I mean, we've had Jordan Neerdales from the Department of Labor on. I mean, and they have a hard time having people dress up for an interview.
Right, I know.
And I mean, I remember when I was little, we'd fly on the plane. You would dress up to fly on a plane. Remember that? Well, you didn't really fly when you were little, did you?
Not a lot.
You dressed up for those things, but I still think an employer has the right. Absolutely, I think it says something about your business if you come in and your employees are all grungy and t-shirts and stuff. I think it says something, and I think an employer has the right to do that. But
I totally agree.
We don't know if that's the reason.
736-0300, top story. You're on the air.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Lovey Joe.
Good morning.
I have a hypothetical for you guys. What if Orange Julius would do a corporate takeover of Times Square Media, and tomorrow you would have to dress like the Orange Julius people?
Orange Julius people?
Yeah.
Well,
hey, you know what?
Sometimes you have
to. The ones who write the checks make the rules, and I can't say that
you have
even
a choice to stay.
Everything that this company does, I don't necessarily agree with it.
No.
But I'm their employee, so I comply. That is my responsibility as an employee.
But you could
if
also
I don't
leave
like
if
it,
you
I
want
can
to.
quit
Yeah.
and find something else.
Yeah.
I could quit and go to work for Sercom.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. We'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 was the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. And just wanted to say that the folks at Canyon Pond, Dave Hansen and the crew, want you to come on in and see what they've got. Well, see what they've got. They've got a little bit of everything and a lot of some stuff like guns. They got a lot of guns. They got some camping supplies. They got fishing poles. They got tools, stuff that you would normally find in a pawn shop. Some of it is still new in the box on the shelves. They are locally owned. They have brand new and used items. As I said, they have a lot of miscellaneous stuff. And you can find them on Facebook at Canyon Pond. You can find them on the web at canyonpond.com. You can find them on your phone at 933-2600. 933-2600. So you can call them up and you can talk to Dave and you can say, hey, Dave, how do I have a chance to win that Savage 17 HMR with AccuTrigger?
Yeah.
And he can fill you in. You ought to just stop by. Take a look at it. Take a look at all the guns and all the stuff they got at Canyon Pond. They're on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota in the old Vickers Western store building. And they will welcome you with open arms.
There you go.
An American doctor who survived Ebola said that there is no time to waste as President Obama outlined his plan to ramp up the U.S. response to the epidemic in West Africa. Kent Brantley told senators yesterday, he said, we can't afford to wait months or even weeks to take action to put people on the ground. So actually, Obama called the Ebola crisis a threat to world security as he ordered up to 3,000 U.S. military personnel to the region, along with an aggressive effort to train healthcare workers and deliver field hospitals. Under the plan, the government could end up devoting $1 billion to containing the disease. If the outbreak is not stopped now, we could be looking at hundreds of thousands of people affected with profound economic, political, and security implications for all of us, Obama said after briefings in Atlanta with the doctors from the Centers for Disease Control.
Well, they said the number of cases could start doubling every 3 weeks in West Africa. Every 3 weeks.
That is amazing.
And then if you get on planes, which there was one, I think the guy went from Liberia to Nigeria. He started having symptoms on the plane. He got off the plane, died. Think about everyone on that plane who now might be exposed. This could be worldwide catastrophic quickly. I mean, really.
Well, especially with our rapid transportation things that we have now with airplanes and such. You know, you can be on the other side of the world in a matter of hours. So, yeah, you're right. What kind of bothers me in this deal, and maybe this is totally within protocol, is sending 3,000 U.S. military personnel to that area. So you tell a U.S. military person, you're going here, and you really have no choice.
Well, I'm sure they would be in protective gear and all that. My gosh. I mean, they're building the things. Yeah.
But there have been people who have had protective gear who have come down with it.
No, I agree.
And I
Well, what's the difference between that or sending them into a war zone? I mean, you're either going to be killed by a bullet or you're going to be killed by Ebola. I get it. I mean, I wouldn't want to pick that job either. I'd say, like, no.
It's almost, you're sending 3,000 U.S. military personnel into a region that has a disease that will probably kill them if they get it. And I don't know the details of this. I don't know how close they will be to it. But if they're going to be they're apparently going to be setting up treatment centers in Liberia and places. So they're going to have to be pretty close to it.
I would assume they would set it up and then they move on to the next. I mean, I agree too. When I first read that, I'm like, what are they going to be doing? And they aren't trained medical personnel. They said they don't have to. They're in charge of logistics and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that is scary. And they've had how many people survive? The doctor and the nurse, the U.S. ones, and one's on the way.
They have had special treatment in the U.S.
And he's also, the American doctors donated his blood so that people could have antibodies in theirs and stuff like that. But no, I mean, that's terrifying. I mean, they have whole communities that are quarantined. I know. That people can't leave, and there's not enough room. People are just laying in the street.
Yeah, I agree.
It's crazy. I mean, you can't ignore it because it could go worldwide catastrophe. You cannot ignore it. Someone has to do something. It's just crazy.
Which is funny because if you want to make a comparison to that, it's kind of like the ISIS threat. You can't ignore that.
Well, you can't, and we're not ignoring it.
I understand that. I'm just kind of making there are so many things that are hitting us now, not just the U.S., but the world. So we've got the Ebola crisis. We've got ISIS, and so many other things that it just seems like everything is a crisis now.
Well,
the world is in so much turmoil that we've got ISIS now who are putting out requests on social media telling their followers in the United States to blow up Times Square with pipe bombs, to blow up the Las Vegas Strip with pipe bombs. And you may think, nobody's going to pay any attention to that. But it was just this week they arrested a 31-year-old store owner in New York for sending money and helping ISIS, and he was going to get some guns and try to kill army people. Had a business owner in New York
and yet
City.
They caught him. So, just don't like that on Facebook. You know how you go, could have no. I mean, this is crazy.
It is scary. We'll be back. 7360300 was the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We are back, and the folks at Far More of Idaho want you to know that the infrared baron is alive and well and can save you money. And here's how. They fly over your fields. They take photos of infrared. Infrared photography is used, which shows all kinds of different information than you get with just regular photography or even with the naked eye. They fly over your field. You can see where the water is penetrating, maybe where it's not penetrating. You can see if your irrigation system needs to have some maintenance done or some adjustments made. It's really quite a deal. Once you make these adjustments, you're going to get better yields, which is going to way more than pay for the overflights of the field. I tell you what, technology and agriculture anymore, there's just it's up to the American farmer to feed. I don't know how many people they're feeding now. Every farmer feeds probably 150, 160 people, and they're doing it with the help of technology like this. If you want to find out more about infrared baron, get a hold of the folks at Far More of Idaho. They know all about this stuff, way more than I do. I know it might be hard to believe sometimes, but it is the case. 324-3341 is the number to call, or at farmoreofidaho.com. Well, one more item before we have Carl Kleinkoff coming up here as running for re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees. We have a referendum, and this is not in the United States, but it is something of world interest. Thursday's referendum on Scottish independence could mark the end of the United Kingdom's 307-year-old sovereign state made up of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Recent polls show the vote will likely be close, and a yes vote would have huge consequences, not just for Scotland, but also for the United Kingdom, and in fact, the rest of Europe. This is kind of interesting. You don't really hear a lot of stuff. We have kind of this tendency to believe that in this day and age in the world, things like this are pretty much settled, and they're pretty much going to stay the way they are with boundaries and such. But
we actually had to have a war
right,
to do it.
Right,
307 years later, they just get to vote.
They get to vote on it.
Come on.
That's just
Where's
not fair.
Where's the fun in that?
That's right.
No, and it's kind of interesting, though.
Yeah. There's an article here, the 5 reasons that they want to pull away. Voters in Scotland have traditionally been left-leaning, and the country typically returns a huge majority to the Labour Party. The centre-right Conservatives, meanwhile, usually fare poorly in Scotland. Out of the 59 seats contested in 2010, Labour won 41, while the Conservatives won just a single seat. England is far more likely to vote for the Conservative Party, which is currently in power. So, despite voting overwhelmingly for Labour, Scotland finds itself under the rule of the Conservatives. Mm-hmm. If Scotland becomes independent, so the argument goes, Scots will finally get a government of their choosing.
I know.
Thursday's vote is not just about independence. For many Scots, it's also about making sure the Conservatives never again rule Scotland.
Hear, hear.
By golly, they're just wanting to get the Conservatives out of there, apparently.
Well, they've wanted to be on their own for a while. And it's interesting because you can vote at the age of 16 in Scotland. They actually expect 100% voter turnout on this one. 100%. We are so pathetic. Our biggest one was 2008 with 57%.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Anyway, any Scottish, English people out there, what do you think?
How are you going to vote?
What would be your vote?
Going to vote absentee, maybe.
Because they don't have their own currency either. Right. I mean, they've got a few things that they'd have to.
Starting over. An economist are saying that it is in Scotland's best interest to remain part of the UK. There is a clear emotional pull toward voting for self-rule, as the Economist notes. The referendum will not turn will turn not on calculations of taxes and oil, but on identity and power. Mm-hmm. The idea that Scots can shape their own destiny, both at the referendum and afterwards, is exhilarating, they say. Mm-hmm. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I hate to go backwards with you, but I just got an email from Tea Party people that the ISIS terrorists have crossed the Canadian border. Now, I don't know whether that was this morning or last night or last week, but anyway, they've caught some ISIS terrorists coming across our Canadian border.
Well, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they're... Well, I mean, it's
But at least
I
they
don't know.
caught them. You never know too.
But how many have they caught?
Who
Hey, look,
knows? I don't know.
if we think that there are no ISIS people in our country right now, we are living in la la land.
Well, there's terrorists
There
everywhere.
are ways to get into this country that, like they said, there are legal ways. They can get a passport and fly in, and they can, they might be under suspicion. But if we think that there's no ISIS people in this country, we are, we're living in the last century.
We have terrorists no matter what. We have American terrorists. We had Michael McVeigh. We've had a lot of sick people, and so there's going to be more.
Doesn't seem like it's going to get much better very soon. But we do have Carl Kleinkoff next, running for re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees right here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Welcome back, and we have with us CSI Board of Trustee member Carl Kleinkoff, who is seeking re-election. And good morning, Carl. Thanks for being on the show.
Good morning, Levitt. Thanks for a chance to talk about CSI.
Well, I know it's a wonderful thing in our community, and I know when you ran last time, you made several things. You indicated several things you wanted to do while you were on the board and you're running for re-election. What did you promise to do, and what of those have you been able to accomplish?
Thanks, Kelly. I did. Bob Keegan and I were elected in 2010. We have staggered terms, and we had up until that time a very good board, but I firmly believed at that point in time that we needed some things, probably some transparency in bidding projects, maybe written board policies. We have started working 3 or 4 years ago on some lower end salaries. We actually had some salaries that I wasn't proud of, and I don't think any of the board, and we all worked together to bring up lower end salaries. We had some salaries below the poverty level, and that's people that had been there for 10 years, 20 years, and that's not positive for the institution. And we worked on those really hard. We've worked on economic development a ton. That's workforce development, trying to do some things for community. With a community college is quite easy versus a university because we can act very, very quickly in developing programs, and we've pushed our administration to do that. Things like Chobani and things like Dell and all those things. Of course, Dell isn't here now, but bringing in a company is really important to the economic factors in this community, and CSI has been a major sponsor of that.
I know there was a lot of talk early on about in the bidding process. It seemed like maybe that wasn't always fair. We've been able to get behind that and straighten things out.
Well, I feel we have. Basically, all of our bids since I've been on the board that have been approved by the boards, and that's in the last 4 years, have gone to the lowest qualified bidder. And that may or may not have been the truth in the past, because we have legally some ways to select builders. You certainly get good buildings that way, but not always the most reasonable.
Mm-hmm. But you also you were concerned about transparency, and is there a $25,000 bid that now anything that amount and over is now open to the public where before it wasn't?
Well, if you ask the builders, their answer to that was no, it wasn't open to all the builders.
Right.
And I don't want to speak for previous boards, Jill. Previous boards did what they thought was correct, but I did have the building community come to Bob and me and ask for just the opportunity to bid on future projects, and we've opened that up. I think, as you've seen with our last 2, 3, or 4 buildings, not only do we have Star Construction that just finished our apartments, but we have a couple other construction firms that did the attic building out of Idaho Falls, and we have another construction firm working on softball bleachers right now. So we've spread it around, and I like that. It gives, Twin Falls and Jerome County, our tax base, these local businesses that pay local taxes deserve that right to bid, and I've been a proud supporter of that.
The other, I was looking back, because it's 4 years ago when you ran
Correct.
initially, and you also were concerned about nepotism. Have you changed any? I didn't see a nepotism policy in the policy and procedures. Has this issue been addressed? Because you actually, honestly, you hear that a lot around town. It's who you know or who you're related to gets a job at CSI. And I'm not from here, and so I'm just curious. And you must have been concerned about that as well. Has that been changed?
I really don't want to say changed. Have we addressed it? Absolutely. The policy as written in the faculty, staff, and administrative policy file does address nepotism, and we addressed it as a board. And generally speaking, we try at the administrative level, at the board's level, to keep as much sincerity, honesty, and openness in the hiring process as we can. Now, keep in mind the board does not hire and fire at the college. We hire our college attorney who represents us, and we hire the college president. So basically, when a coach comes in, when faculty staff comes in, those people are vetted by the administration and hiring committees, our HR department, and hopefully that we do have a new HR person now on board, Eric Nelson, and hopefully those people are fully aware of our nepotism policy, and at that point it should be addressed, and those things should never get to the board because that's really not our function. We are a policy-making board by law, and we don't get involved in day-to-day hiring and firing.
Okay, and I know that there's a couple of investigations going on at CSI right now, and I know you may not be able to speak about them, but I'm just sitting here wondering, the $146,000 payout to the coach, would that be something that the board of directors would have to okay?
We follow the guidelines of our legal counsel, and basically what happens when someone decides to leave the college, whether it be a coach or whoever it is, then their legal counsel and our legal counsel get together, and that's what happened in this particular instance. They signed confidentiality agreements, and we fulfilled our college requirement of completing. He had 18 months left on a contract, and that contract being paid off would have involved total salary. It would have involved insurance. It would have involved his Percy payments, would have involved FICA, anything that he was responsible for. And at that particular point, that's the only thing that is really public information and the only thing that I could divulge. And I think it was a mutually agreed upon confidentiality statement between both parties. And although the figure that you raise looks like a large amount, that's really total all-inclusive, and a great portion of that was insurance.
Can you understand why some people are saying, why didn't they find out in March when it actually happened, and they found out, now it's like 4 or 5 months later? And really, a lot, I've read comments and heard from people in the public, like they have the impression that CSI is hiding something, and they feel like they're taxpayer dollars. Why isn't this more? Why was there confidentiality agreements in place? Why not it be so the taxpayers know what happened here?
The board also was not really the first to become involved in this. It was administration that was involved. So when we actually heard about it, probably the decisions were already done. Most of the hiring, decision making, et cetera, is administrative, but in this case also probably the athletic director was involved. But although things like that may come through executive sessions because that's a personnel decision, we can't vote in executive sessions, so there's nothing that other than information that is passed on. And I would suspect that Coach Cox and his legal counsel and our legal counsel came to the agreement on this before the board was ever involved.
As you seek re-election, what are you still working on some of your original plans? Do you have some new plans that you'd like to institute, or
things that I'd like to improve the CSI campus, college students?
CSI is the best thing that's happened to Twin Falls since we brought water in back in the teens. It's been marvelous. I've been proud to be associated with it for 38 years. Been at all different levels, faculty, staff, been at athletic director, board of trustees, and I love that place, and it was my idea to give back to the college. We are a non-compensated board. A lot of times people don't realize that. I actually spend my own dollars traveling back and forth to meetings, etc. But I don't mind doing that because I love the college. It's been great. And I want to make sure that we keep it that way as I look at the future and possible conflicts that I see coming in the election on November 4th with my opponent and a legal tort case that has been filed against CSI for $5 million. I see some things that I could really help.
What are some of those things?
Can I just clarify, just to be fair,
go ahead.
it's not your opponent who's actually filed, it was his wife that's filed. He's not on the petition.
Yes,
she is.
Both of them are.
I saw her as just petitioner, but the issues in the tort claim, are you concerned about some of those things that are addressed in the complaint? Because I think as a board member, wouldn't you want to fix some of those things that were listed in there?
Jill, I can't comment on those at the present time. Those will all be addressed at the proper time when they can be. Our legal counsel simply has advised us to remain quiet on that fact, with the exception that we have been presented with that.
As you move forward, and if you're reelected, what's one of the main things that you would like to see? I mean, is it kind of holding the status quo? And it seems like everybody who wants to be on the board has something that they would like to see that they consider would be an improvement to the school. Well,
Kelly, I certainly don't want to hold to status quo. I want to see this college continue to grow. Part of that we're addressing right now. We're in an 8-county area, and so when you address salaries in, say, our Burley Outreach Center versus salaries in our Haley Outreach Center, the discrepancy of cost of living is phenomenal, and we're addressing issues like that right now because we've pretty well held to the same salary schedule with all of our people, and that's really tough when you live in the Wood River Valley and try to make ends meet on the same salary that you do here in Twin. So we're addressing those issues. That's one thing. I still want to, there's some tremendous things happening right now as far as growth with companies coming in, and I want to be a part of that and see what we can put together in the way of educational programs for them.
Yeah.
Carl, what about this? This came out, and it was really kind of shocking on ESPN's Outside the Lines. It revealed that CSI mishandled allegations that a student athlete raped another student, Pat Swilling, and the mother apparently told our former coach, Steve Gosar. Anyway, he said that we didn't have policies and procedures in place at CSI to fix this. Has that changed? Are you going to address this? What is the college doing? I know we don't have much time. Sorry.
We did have policies in place to address it, Jill. Did we do it correctly? Probably not in all instances. The very first thing we did was turn it over to the Twin Falls Police Department. And we thought we had done the right thing. But when you operate on federal funds, you're required to report under the Title IX Education Act. And I think our athletic director has followed up on that, because at that time, I don't think that happened, but it has since.
Because then an investigation wasn't opened because it wasn't done in the right procedure.
Well, I
understand.
think the Twin Falls Police Department certainly handled it excellent. I don't think there's any problem with that. But did we do the right thing on our reporting? I think we will in the future.
Carl, we are out of time. I want to thank
Carl,
you for coming
thank
in.
you.
Yeah. Carl Kleinkopf, running for, re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees, and we'll see you soon.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Carl.
the opportunity.
Thanks for coming in.
And we got the State of the City coming up this next hour here on Top Story. Welcome back to Top Story, 736-0300. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
Going to be another warm day today. Now, I'm not sure that I heard Benito right this morning. Did he say 94 for a high? Couldn't be. Couldn't be. Must have been 84.
What's the temperature now?
It's 60 right now.
Okay.
So it's just about right.
Should
right
be nice.
Now. Yeah.
94 though. Yikes.
Yeah, I know. That would be a little warm for this time of year, although probably not unheard of.
Yeah.
So, but we hope it doesn't get up to 94 today. It's time to start leveling things off here. Chris Talkington is with us from the Twin Falls City Council for State of the City. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning
We weren't sure. We had Greg Lansing on the schedule. He might have said he was going to change. We didn't know, but we're so happy it's you.
Well, I'm representing one of we two old codgers on the council.
Well, someone's got to represent them, right?
And I don't know who that other one is.
Yeah,
Greg.
exactly. Good thing he's out of town.
So, Canyon, let's just start off with something. Well, first of all, I guess we want to mention the budget and taxes. The budget is passed.
Well, sure. Everybody's interested in what's going to be the impact on their taxes if they're a homeowner. And the last figures we had revised from the county right about the time we passed the budget that'll take effect October 1st. A person with a $140,000 home will actually be paying less in property tax under the city's budget this year. Now, when you add in the water and wastewater and sanitation, it'll be a couple bucks. I think $12 a year. I might be corrected on that. Nonetheless, it's going to be almost a status quo budget so far as the impact on people. We did try to change our collection policy on garbage for people who are very light contributors and don't use one of those big blues, and make it more of a pay-as-you-go basis. If you don't use a lot, then you shouldn't pay as much. That didn't make it through the council, but I'm optimistic that eventually people who are on very limited garbage, single people, seniors, will be paying less. But our collections program for recycling is up. People are recycling more. So up and down.
Yeah.
City government works. That's
Up
what
and
I say.
down.
Well, now, speaking of recycling, which seems to be kind of one of our success stories, because how much have we kept out of probably don't have the latest figures maybe, but there's been a lot of stuff kept out of the landfill.
Well, it's both a blessing and a puzzle. I don't have the figures, but I do know that the average person is recycling curbside about 62 pounds a month. That's over the same time last year. We have contributed much, much less to the waste stream that goes into the county and the solid waste district's landfill, and yet we're being charged the same amount because they have fixed costs, and when their road graders aren't moving, they still have to pay for the people working there. It's not a fair deal. The county here is subject to the little counties kind of regulating how they figure how much trash goes in, but the fact is the city is the single largest contributor. We're contributing much less because of people's recycling, and eventually I hope we pay less, and that'll be reflected back to what we charge people.
So in the meantime, we're kind of getting satisfaction out of it, knowing that we're at least doing the right thing.
People are doing it because it's the right thing. Absolutely. Yeah. And
I wish that we did it in Kimberly. I think the cities should consolidate and really try to help all of us recycle.
Why not?
I don't know. Why not?
Well,
I don't know.
We're already on the same waste stream, and we have a lot more in common. Kimberly and Twin Falls, we're kind of touching edges right now, so there'll be more coordination in the future, I'm sure.
I hope so.
But it has to be on a voluntary basis.
Okay.
Yeah, probably does.
No,
go ahead.
No,
Be my guest.
Well, the question I was going to ask you, and we talked about it earlier in the show, Hurricane, what's her name? His name?
Odile, I don't know. O-D-I-L-E.
O-D-I-L-E. Anyway, they're predicting huge floods in Arizona and New Mexico. If for some reason we have another day where we had over 4 inches, and actually in a 72-hour period. What has the city done, or have they done anything? I know we had Travis Rothweiler mentioned about communication or other things. Has the city, is it prepared for another deluge if we get one?
You can never prepare for a deluge that overwhelms your entire system that you're built for, such as the wastewater system or the manhole storm run. But we can do a better job at communicating. I have to make sure that everybody knows that Jackie Frey of the county is the coordinator for Twin Falls County, and she kind of makes sure that we're all on the same page. I do know that the county and the city have been coordinating on their communications, and I think that there'll be a quicker response should we do get the remnants of a hurricane. By the way, those we old timers remember a hurricane coming in fair time in the 70s, and it was just kind of a little bit of a wind and weather and a little bit of rain. I'd be very surprised if it could carry much moisture up this high, but there's no doubt the Southwest is going to get hit by the thing. So yeah, we can do better, and we have to do better.
So Travis mentioned something about looking at either plugging manholes or I think it was plugging manholes. Have you taken actually steps, like if this happened?
I haven't been assigned a manhole to plug or
No?
unplug. I'll leave that to
Did
Travis.
you need volunteers? I don't know. We could plug manholes, but there was also a problem with that as well.
Well,
Do we have
some people were really hurt, and the farming industry around here was just devastated by this heat and this rain that we've had back to back, and that's the real impact we're still feeling. And the farmers, through their government low-cost loans, I think some of them are going to come out much less damaged than they were had they not had it. But it's been a real bad, worst nightmare we could imagine.
Yeah,
and also for the homeowners.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been some of the homeowners that didn't have backup valves in their wastewater system, and we're still negotiating through on those.
Yeah. 7360300, top story. You're on the air with Chris Talkington.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question for this gentleman and all the city council and all the city government from this area, basically. It seems to me that you guys are welcoming new businesses, but there is no infrastructure looking towards the future. It's good to hear that you lived here in the past and it's all hunky-dory. But since I don't see no water drainages being built over in Jerome on the north side by 20th Street, 19th Street, they don't even have rainwater, nothing for the water to drain. So what I'm saying is, I know you guys want to keep low cost on the government and all this and all that, but isn't it time? And I mean, it has to come a time to when you got to start thinking about infrastructure reform, because 30 years from now, there'll be a lot more people living here. Don't you think we got to start looking into that, or are we just going to keep saying, oh, well, it's God, it's 100 years, it's God's will? I mean, let's stop putting it on somebody. Why don't we just get together and build something for the infrastructure? Because what happened to the homeowners was not reasonable.
Well, I think that's a really valid question your caller brought up. We do live in a desert where we have somewhere between 6 and 9 inches a year, and you cannot build a city built in the desert for a Seattle type of a runoff. That's why we don't have snowplows, because we have so little snow.
Now, they said the city did have snowplows, that was a false rumor, Chris.
Let me change this around. I'll correct myself. We have a few snowplows that we started attacking the arterials, but we don't have enough to do every street in Twin Falls right after a snowstorm. The gentleman's comment is absolutely right. We do not have a wastewater or a storm drain runoff system. The federal government's stepping in and mandating us to improve that, and we'll be doing that as we decide what the regulations require us to do and prioritize and what the cost is. I doubt if you're going to see many cities in Idaho that I'm aware of that have a storm drain system in place at this time. There's just not that much water on most of the time.
Yeah.
If you're planning and charging people's taxes built around what happens 99% of the time as opposed to 100%, there's a big cost difference in that 1%.
Yeah. Now, I know when we reach the 50,000 threshold, that's going to force some changes in the city.
That's kind of the trigger point, Kelly. Absolutely right. A lot of changes, including community bus systems, what we do with our runoff from storm drains. 50,000 is the magic or the unmagic number, whatever way you want to look at it. Yeah, and that'll be probably within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so at that point, we may have to look at the storm drainage system and do something about it. So, in other words, help might be on the way, even though it might be a lot of wasted money for something.
Guess who's going to pay for that help?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
But actually, we don't have to officially until the census declares us at 50,000. Isn't that correct? I mean, we might be 50,000, but don't you have to wait to the census?
I've never been able to predict what the federal or the state government is the law versus what we end up having to do. I'm a little bit cynical that way, but I would say people are going to be paying most of the cost sooner than they think.
And that could be an expensive proposition.
Oh, it could be.
Would you say it's fair to say that the city of Twin Falls is facing a rude awakening soon after that 50,000 threshold?
No. If so, then the council and the city management are not doing their jobs. We're trying to be planful enough so that people know, such as this wastewater and storm drains runoff system, that's coming down the pike. So we're putting up the flag right now. We're trying to keep the quality of life in. We're trying to keep a balance between what we'd like to see the city look at and what it can afford. And it's always a balancing game.
Sure, yeah. And you're never going to make 100% of the people happy, are you?
Sometimes 51% is pretty good.
We were going to ask you about the Canyon Springs grade. I know there was discussion. The city council was going to look into it because they definitely were going to redo it. And then we had mudslides because of the rain. What is going on with this?
Well, we're in the study mode right now because we don't know. We think that we can do it with the reserves we have from the frugal way the city's operated. We have enough money for a substantial improvement. That means taking the canyon wall back 20 or 40 feet. I'm not sure how much. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar project, and I can say that with our other projects right now, this is probably number 2 or 3 on the priority list. There are a lot of ones, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There are a lot.
Yeah.
And you think, how
No
can
kidding.
the taxpayers, how many reserves, what reserves do the city have? It just seems like we have huge expenses coming out. How can the city, last I heard there was like 12 million in reserves.
I don't think there's quite that much, but there's substantial. I think 7 million plus, and that is for capital projects, one-time capital projects. We have a couple in the line that we're working on with right now. Canyon Springs is going to be, I would guess this time next year, is going to be at the top of our talk list.
Okay. Well, it's quite it's kind of a unique deal because not only do motorists use it to get up and down, but a lot of people use it to walk.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's my favorite exercise place.
Yeah.
I counted 75 on the grade at one time. It's incredible.
Yeah,
It is incredible.
So that's going to put a whole new dimension on it too when you're dealing with pedestrians and traffic.
And there are rocks falling off the wall, and people have to be extremely careful when they go up.
Well, that's all part of the exercise.
As
is
that's a good
dodging the
workout,
rocks as they come down.
Works your core. How fast can
There
you
go.
move?
Chris, we're out of time. Thank you
Thanks,
very much for being on
Chris.
State of the
Thank
City.
you.
Twin Falls City
Appreciate it.
Councilman Chris Talkington, our guest this morning. And this is Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. What are we going to do about the militarization of the police? We've talked about this before. Looks like there might be some action in Congress to reverse this a little bit, but we're going to take a little look at it and just kind of see what you think. But before we get to that, yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Betty Ellis.
Betty Ellis, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is tie.
Tie.
T-I-E.
Tie.
Like you wear a tie, or you tie your shoe.
Or tie something.
Or tie something. 73... What am I doing? Yes,
I
go to
don't
our
know.
website at
I don't know what you're doing.
newsradio1310.com. Click on Word of the Day. Type in tie, T-I-E.
Tie.
Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, then you win $100, just like that.
That's how easy it is.
Man, I'll tell you. Okay. Idaho GOP Congressman Raul Labrador, this is from the AP, is teaming with a Democratic lawmaker from Georgia to move a bill designed to curb police militarization among state and local law enforcement agencies. Labrador and U.S. Representative Hank Johnson introduced the bill yesterday, saying the Pentagon's 1033 program, which provides local law enforcement officers across the country with assault weapons and surplus military equipment has gone too far. The legislation follows a series of riots sparked by the August 9th shooting of Michael Brown, an unarmed black teenager, by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Images of heavily armed officers using tear gas, rubber bullets, armored Humvee tanks, and assault rifles quickly resulted in increased criticism of local use of military equipment. The Pentagon's current surplus property program blurs that line by introducing a military model of overwhelming force in our cities and towns, said Labrador. Our bill would restore the focus of local law enforcement on protecting citizens and providing due process for the accused. The Pentagon program began in 1990 to help fight drug-related crimes. It eventually was expanded to fight terrorism. Now, if I remember right, you may remember years ago they had a robbery in California, and the perpetrators were dressed in body armor. They had automatic weapons. They had heavy-duty stuff. And they literally cut their way right through the Los Angeles Police Department, who were actually going to gun stores in L.A. trying to get some heavier armament in order to go get these guys. And that was one of the issues, too. And here lately, there's been this deal where it seems like when you have, well, like this, it was brought to the forefront with the riots in Ferguson, Missouri. And the police showed up with what many of the Iraqi and Afghanistan vets were saying, man, we didn't have that equipment when we were on the front lines.
Right.
Now, I just want to make one thing clear. I do not have a problem with our police and law enforcement departments being armed with whatever they need for whatever situation they may face. And I think the situation in Los Angeles a few years ago kind of bore that out, and a lot of people are in favor of that. It's not that I have a problem with them having the equipment. I have a problem sometimes with the times that they use it. And here's one of the deals. One of the requirements of this program, getting the equipment from the Pentagon, is that you have to use it like once a year.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if we got something like that, let's say for the Twin Falls Police Department, let's say we got one of those MRAP vehicles or something like that.
And we're on day 364.
Yeah.
The next day, New Year's Eve, you're going to use it?
Well, we better to bring out the MRAP and patrol the streets
and
that's part of the requirement. Yeah.
Do we need grenade launchers? You know what I'm saying? Some of this is a little crazy. What do you think we should do? And also, you know who's upset by us cutting this back are defense contractors.
Well, see, that's another thing. And I've wondered why we've been able to give this equipment to the cities when our defense budget is huge. And again,
it's huge.
I don't, I'm not against a huge defense budget if we need it, but if there are places we can cut costs, and if that means not giving the cities some of this equipment that they really don't need,
or want,
there's a perfect opportunity to cut some spending right there.
Right.
736-0300 is the number to call. Top story, you're on the air.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Great, how are you?
Good.
You actually just made my point. I'm on the fence about them having it or not, but why do we spend so much money buying new stuff if we've got good stuff to give away? It's stupid. Our guys on the front lines deserve to have that, not the police.
Well, I mean, it's a business. And when you look at the it was the 35 Joint Strike Fighter engine the Pentagon does not want. They were forced to put it in their budget. In 2010, they had to include $485 million for an extra one. They don't want it. They didn't want it. But basically, it's lobbying. And I think it was because Richard Selby in Alabama, their factory builds it, and it employs 95,000 people. I mean, if you don't call that a welfare program, I don't know what is. I mean, we are building and purchasing weapons we don't want. We don't use. For jobs. And this is another thing. This is one more thing. I mean, do you think a town of Ferguson, what was it, 20,000 people, 40,000 maybe? I think it was 20,000.
It's not very big.
That they had that kind of military in their city?
And again, I am not necessarily against them having it if they need it. I am against them using it when they don't have to.
I have a hard time believing anyone needs grenade launchers, but whatever.
We'll be right back. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Clearwater Power Equipment is now in Twin Falls, where General Building Supply used to be. And you will see out front where they have their Husqvarna equipment, their Echo equipment. And what's nice about a place like Clearwater Power Equipment is they sell Husqvarna and Echo power equipment. If you have questions about Husqvarna and Echo power equipment, if you need service, if you need parts, if you need advice, if you have questions, they are the ones you go to and ask. Now, there may be others around who sell some of that same equipment. You ask them a question, and they look at you like you have two heads, and they have no idea how to answer that question. You're not going to get that at Clearwater Power Equipment because that's what they deal in every single day. And if you're like me and you don't have a whole lot of storage and you might have a Husqvarna riding lawnmower, they will store it for you through the winter. You can give them a call and ask them about that, 734-7767, or shoot, you can stop by at 252 Washington Street. And we got another year coming up. This would be a good time to ask them about some deals on equipment for next year. So
I think that's a great benefit to store it because you get this big
too.
thing and you're like, now what?
I know, yeah, and you
Should
don't
I
think
put a little
about that.
tarp over it?
You're out there in the spring,
winter?
and you think, oh man, I got to get a new mower. So you run into
know.
town and you get one, you bring it home, and you use it all summer. And oh man, now it's coming up winter. What am I going to do with it?
Right.
So they can help you out with that at Clearwater Power Equipment. And again, back to our subject on the militarization of the police. I want to stress that I would never ever want our law enforcement to be outgunned.
No.
By anyone. And even if they have some of that equipment, it's like, but I'm kind of like a grenade launcher. When would a law enforcement agency actually need a grenade
launcher, armored vehicles, weaponized drones, long-range acoustic devices that send out high-pitched noises to scatter crowds? Maybe during 4th of July. I don't know.
and you know what?
Get out of here, people.
I suppose if there was and that would be mostly like for a larger city. I can't even imagine like Twin Falls or any town around southern Idaho that would need something like that.
And you look at Ferguson. I mean, that was 20,000 population of 20,000. But the point is, should we dial this back? Somehow this has expanded since 1990.
It
started with the drug wars. And again, terrorism.
I'm looking at the cost savings if we're not building this stuff to give it away to the cities. I mean, that's a savings to the taxpayer, and we're gonna.
The cities just pay for shipping.
Right.
No, that's what they do. They just pay for shipping. They don't pay for the equipment.
Yeah, well,
they pay for shipping.
You get a $750,000 piece of equipment, and even if you spend $5,000 to get it here, that's a pretty good deal. But when you get it here, and then the training,
and they aren't trained.
Some of the
not trained
law enforcement officers, they go get in it and they start using it. So, there's some things with this law that need to be cleaned up a little bit. 736-0300, Top Story, you're on the air.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Been a while since I've called in.
I've noticed that.
Former law enforcement.
Where have you been?
Busy. I'm busy. But I listen to you every day.
Well,
Thank
good.
you.
All right.
I have my little temper tantrums once in a while, but I get over it.
Well, I'm sure Kelly. I'm sure it's because of Kelly, right?
Yeah. Anyway, being former law enforcement and seeing the militarization of our police forces really bothers me. Some of the technology, like the acoustical, non-lethal crowd dispersal stuff, that can really come in to help in some areas, like we see in St. Louis area and stuff like that. But having the MRAPs, the advanced military, I can't talk this morning, just got out of the dentist, military style weaponry, to me goes over the top a little bit. Having AR type rifles, I can see that. Having the pistols that we carry and the body armor.
What about
tasers,
grenade
that's
launchers?
All normal law enforcement stuff. But
what about grenade launchers?
Just going over the top.
What Jill's asking, what about grenade launchers?
There's absolutely no reason in this world for any United States police force to have a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. I mean, if they were going to do that, they'd be better off to drop one from a helicopter rather than send it through Yeah, but anyway, hey, thanks for your input.
Thank you.
Do appreciate that.
Hope your mouth gets better.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you just came from the dentist.
7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. When Towsley was sheriff down there, he was trying to get some military helicopters with all the technology. I can't imagine putting that kind of technology in the hands of someone as corrupt as Towsley was.
Well, I don't know about any corruption
said.
charges, but I don't know. I know that he was trying to get one. I know a lot of the police departments have those. I know they would be handy in some situations, but I don't know if drones are one of those things that they can be very handy. You can fly them over fields. You can look for marijuana.
But weaponized drones?
Weaponized drones, that's another thing.
That's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, if they start shooting at me from a non-manned drone, I mean, I don't know. See, that's...
Run,
where do we draw the line?
Run,
where do we draw the
Kelly.
line here? That's right. We got to draw some lines. 7360300 is the number to call. Well, Stanley and Company. We haven't mentioned them today. We haven't mentioned Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company.
No.
And the Lowen Honey Loader. What is the Lowen Honey Loader? Well, it's capable of loading all types of manure, liquid, frozen, and dry, has low horsepower requirements, and fast loading up to 7 miles an hour. Why in the world would you need a Lowen Honey Loader? Actually, most people probably wouldn't.
They probably can't shovel 7 miles an hour.
But it's one of those things where if you need one, you really need one. You probably have a feedlot or a dairy operation with lots of animals. This is one of the ways to help control the manure in the feedlot. And they do it very well. And if you want to see one in operation, call Pat Hartzell. He can fix it up so you can go to one of the feedlots or dairies in the area that have one of these and they are using it. And you can see all about it. You can talk to the owner, ask him questions, and get all the information on it you need. 324-3341 is the store number for Stanley & Company. But if you want to call Pat directly, you can call him at 280-1167. That's 280-1167 for Pat Hartzell. And he can get you all fixed up. 7360300 is the number to call. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Just going back to what we were talking about, the police force getting all this equipment. It kind of bothers me as well that the police force gets this kind of equipment because we have National Guard that already has equipment and it already has training on this equipment. And we're a state militia is what the National Guard technically is.
Right.
And so there's a lot more versatility with what the National Guard is actually designed for. We're designed to help fight fires. We're designed to also assist in riot control, and if those situations arise where the police force needs additional equipment or personnel, they should be able to go to the governor or whatever and get National Guardsmen and National Guard equipment to help deal with whatever situation might arise.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, and they can do that. And I don't really have a problem with police departments as regular equipment having fully automatic weapons. I really don't have a problem with that because if they run into bank robbers or something like they did in Los Angeles and they need some, and most of the police now I think wear body armor, at least a bulletproof vest.
Because we see them when they come here and they have them
But
on.
actually that's a pretty good point. If the situation got so bad where they needed some of that military equipment, they could call in the National Guard. I don't know what that entails, if they have to ask the governor and then the governor does it, or if they can just get them there, because sometimes speed is of the essence.
But then remember, for a while our National Guard was in Iraq. In a lot of states, the National Guard was not here to defend the nation.
Yeah. What bothers me, too, is when these Iraqi and Afghanistan vets are looking at this equipment saying, wow, we could have really used one in Iraq, but we didn't have it. But yet they're giving it to the cities.
Yeah, just for shipping costs.
Yeah, 7360300, top story, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes, just a little while ago, it hasn't been that long ago, it was a perfect example. It was in Boise. They had to serve a search warrant on the victim up there, and the news was right there and caught them pulling up there with their armored vehicle that they had, and they just bounced up and over the curb on the front lawn like they just went overboard when they brought this out. they were just taking a step too far where they didn't even need to, drive right up on the guy's front lawn just to serve a search warrant because he was resisting arrest.
Yeah, I know.
I think when you have that equipment, and a lot of them aren't trained on it. We have to remember that. And then, I think you feel more empowered when you have stuff like this.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there were some bad people out there right now that have warrants against them that could be very, very bad, when the police approach them. So I don't know that there's a quick answer to this. I just know that we need to look at it, and that's what they're doing, this new bill that Labrador is sponsoring and such. But I would say probably most of the time that they display these things, they don't really need to.
Well, I also think Congress was a little surprised. It was a result of Ferguson. They started seeing all this and it's like, what the heck? What's going on? Yeah. We approve this?
7360300, top story, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi there.
Morning.
I just like to put in, it's how you use the equipment and what the use is for, but on the grenade launcher itself, if I'm on the outside of the house, the subject's barricaded, he has a gun, I'd rather have a 40-millimeter grenade to launch in my smoke, my tear gas, to get him out of there, than to reveal myself and throw in a hand grenade and have him shoot me.
I wouldn't
40-millimeter can come in very well and very handy. Also, I've been on the National Guard. I'm going to tell you, our police forces are usually better trained than our National Guard in this state.
Have you had to use a grenade much in this area?
Yeah, I have. I was on a SWAT team and used a grenade.
Well, there you
go. Saved our lives.
So, okay, I get...
It wasn't a high explosive grenade. It was a gas grenade.
And what are these?
Okay.
So these are high explosive?
You still use a grenade launcher to throw it in. No, we don't use high explosive.
So maybe it's definition here. Maybe the grenade launchers that we're talking about the police departments are not, it's not all the same equipment that our soldiers use.
Well, what type of grenade are you shooting? If it's a smoke grenade or a gas grenade.
So they just launch.
Practice to get them out.
It just launches any grenade.
Right. You can launch any grenade.
So the grenade launcher is not the bad thing. It's what you put in it.
It's the grenade.
What you put in it.
All right. Hey, good point. I appreciate that. Thanks for the call. And it's time now for the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed, Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, the financial advisor. 736-6563 is the number to call.
That's right.
Looking forward to our lunch at the Canyon Crest Dining and Events Center next week with our winner, Frank Pepper.
Tuesday.
Yep, so looking forward to that. Now we have another event also that is coming up, and you might remember it from the past. It's Bras Across the Canyon 2014. Or as we might say in the more proper circles, Brajas Across the Canyon.
Whatever. He's on another plane, people, right now. I'm not even addressing it.
This is coming up Saturday, October 4th, from noon until 3, and sponsored by Arlo G. Lott Trucking Company, also the South Central Public Health District, Glanbia, and everybody who attends will get free food from Chick-fil-A.
They're going to pass out a free sandwich to everyone, and if they run out of sandwiches, they will pass out a coupon.
Yeah.
So everyone will get it.
Everybody gets. Now, from noon till 1:30, the free food from Chick-fil-A while it lasts, first come, first serve, and then the coupons. And then you will decorate your braja. And then 1:30 until 2, they will award the best decorated bra winners. All right? So
you have to decorate it there? You can't bring it decorated?
No, I think you can bring it decorated, too, if you want to, because some things might just not be practical to do there.
Right.
And then at 2 o'clock is the opening ceremonies, and then Brajas Across the Canyon Walk. That's where everybody gets up. They go across one side of the Pine Bridge over to the other, and then they'll cross under and come back and go across the other side. And they hold signs.
Do they hold their bras together, or do they wear them on the outside of their shirts?
They do anything. Anything goes with the brajas.
And you're going to be there.
I am going to be there. I will not be wearing a braja.
I think you should. In support, you should wear one.
Well,
Why don't you figure out what it feels like some days?
Why should I?
Why shouldn't you? Then you can really relate. You should be wearing a decorated, a KLIX decorated bra. Okay, we need to do that for Kelly. We should do that.
I'll get a white bra and hang a bumper sticker on each one.
We could decorate it with KLIX on there.
Are you going to be there?
I'm not sure.
Ah, I see. Well, if you're not going to be there, then stop telling me what I should wear there.
Well, you don't know. Maybe I
hey.
will.
Anyway, looking forward to it. So be there. That's October 4th, Bras Cross Canyon. We have all kinds of information on it on our website at newsradio1310.com. This is sponsored by, it's kind of an event of our sister station, 98.3 The Snake, and all of the town square stations are helping out for this very worthwhile cause. So at any rate, should be fun. See you there. Tomorrow, we've got the Cops Are the Bad Guys list.
We have a lot tomorrow.
It's a lot tomorrow.
We have Richard Stallings on, who's running against Mike Simpson. So he's going to be at 9 o'clock. If you have any questions, please call in, and he'll be happy to answer.
All right, so join us then. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.